10 important things to research before your next international trip. It's exciting when you visit a different country for the first time, but it can also be exhausting. You need to make sure your trip goes as smoothly as possible with little extra planning and preparations before leaving. You can make sure your trip goes as smoothly as possible with a little extra planning and preparations before leaving. So today, we're going to talk about top queries to research before visiting a foreign location. However, before we begin, please take out time to like and subscribe to this channel, and with that being said, let's dive in. 1. Ask if there's any security alert or warning for your destinations. Before planning any trip, you need to ask yourself, does my destinations have any travel alerts or warnings? You should always learn to check the US Office of State's travel advisories before making any travel arrangements abroad to make sure there aren't any big safety or security hazards to be concerned about. Take note of these 4 degrees of advice. Take regular precautions, take extra precautions, think twice about traveling, and don't travel. Find out about terrorism, kidnapping, civil upheaval, and armed conflict. On a color scheme map, you can see the entire planet at a glance. Once you have decided on the destinations, it's important to stay informed with text or email notifications because these dangerous conditions can change quickly. The Smart Traveler Enrollment Program allows Americans to inform the closest U.S. embassy about their travels free of charge. The U.S. government will be informed that you might need to be evacuated if there is a dispute or a natural disaster. 2. Ask if a tourist visa is needed. Always check if a tourist visa is required. Before traveling, it is important to research the visa requirements for your location. The United States has the 22nd strongest passport in the world, and citizens can travel visa-free to 116 other countries. But Americans need visas to travel to well-known nations like Australia, China, Cuba, Vietnam, Brazil, and India. American citizens with passports can register on CIBT visas and find out the requirements for their destinations. Be aware that although many nations demand that you obtain a visa in advance, some allow you to do so on arrival. Many other nationalities have stronger requirements, so make sure to check your country of departure and place of arrival to find out whether you need a visa. 3. Ask if you'll need vaccinations. This depends on several things, like your age, where you are going, and your medical history. Make sure you have received all recommended vaccinations, including the measles vaccine, and schedule a visit with a doctor to check that you have received all destination-specific immunizations. While some vaccinations are advised to keep you healthy while traveling, other vaccinations are imposed by the government of the destination's nations to prevent visitors from bringing the disease back home. The CDC website lists the most recent vaccines that are advised and required. 4. Ask what the local language is and how widely is English spoken. You can easily get by in 45 countries where at least half the people speak English. However, there are several well-known nations like China, Colombia, Brazil, Russia, Argentina, and Chile where less than 10% of the population speaks it. This shouldn't stop you from going, but to have more pleasant interactions, attempt to learn typical greetings like hello, please, thank you, excuse me, and do you speak English. Another useful suggestion is to install a language translation tool to your phone, like iTranslate or TripLingo. You can also use a dictionary app that doesn't require internet connectivity if you don't have a global data plan. 5. Ask if the water is safe to drink. This is particularly essential to help you prevent contracting diseases like cholera, typhoid, and diarrhea that are spread by contaminated water. 6. Ask what the customs and duty restrictions are. Many nations have strict customs regulations. It is either taxing or seizing particular foods, animals, or medications. Find out what is forbidden by contacting the US consulates and foreign embassies in your destination nation. There are some nations where it is illegal to export or leave the country with specific amounts of money, gold, weapons, ammunition, collectibles, religious items, or literature. Travelers who break foreign custom laws may be imprisoned, fined, or both if the situation warrants it. Also, furs, ivory, coral, feathers, and other items made from wildlife as well as fruits, vegetables, and meats are prohibited from import into the United States. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol website has a complete list of things that are forbidden and restricted. 7. Ask about local currencies used and get to know if credit card acceptance is common. You normally have to exchange your money for the local currency when traveling abroad. The US dollar, however, is widely used around the globe in nations like Canada, Mexico, and several Caribbean islands including Belize, Panama, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. For the greatest exchange rate, it is advised to exchange money at your native country's bank. Never wait until you're at the airport because the rates there are terrible. The majority of developed nations also commonly accept credit cards, and many credit cards like the Chase Sapphire provide $0 foreign transaction fees. Make sure your bank is aware of your travel plans to avoid having your purchases reported as fraudulent. 8. What are the appropriate outfits? You will need to cover up in countries with a Muslim, Hindu, or Buddhist majority. Morocco, Jordan, Turkey, Dubai, Indonesia, Egypt, Iran, Sri Lanka, North Korea, and other countries are included in this. Women are expected to dress modestly in the Middle East by wearing long skirts and tops with sleeves that protects their chests, while males are allowed to wear knee-length and shirt that covers their shoulders. The dress code is far less restrictive. In nations like Saudi Arabia and Iran, where it is best to cover your heads as well, the laws are stricter. However, nations like the UAE's Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Turkey are more accepting of visitors who dress formally but modernly. But in Western nations, you can typically wear whatever you want, but it is always appropriate to cover your shoulders and your legs above your knees if you intend to visit religious buildings like temples, mosques, and churches. 9. Ask about the types of outlets that are in use. Around the world, there are various types of outlets, each of which calls for a unique set of plug prongs and voltage. For the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Europe, the most frequent destinations fall into one of 4 outlet categories. The electrical voltage varies throughout nations as well. Electricity in the US operates at 110 to 120 volts, but voltages in many other nations range from 220 to 240 volts. However, if you are traveling to a nation with a higher voltage, you will need a converter to prevent your electronics from being damaged. Furthermore, the ideal option if you are traveling to more than one location is to purchase a universal adapter and converter to meet all of your needs. 10. What are the cultural difference and acceptance behavior? For example, in France, you are not allowed to rush through a meal or a coffee date. While it is customary to keep quiet at meals in places like China, Japan, Thailand, Finland, and several African countries, since the focus of the occasions is the food, not the discussions. In Japan, as compared to the United States, sucking your noodles or soup expresses gratitude to the cook. And never stick your chopsticks vertically into a bowl of rice, cross them, or lick them. This is viewed as impolite. Furthermore, when you talk about greetings, in the US, UK, and Canada, a handshake is the most common greeting, but a bow is more typical in Thailand and India. While kissing is common in many other nations, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Peru, and the Philippines. Also note that accepting tips from Americans has become customary in tourist areas, even in countries without a tradition of tipping, even if locals often don't appreciate it. You, however, have the last word in this. We have come to the end of this video. I sincerely hope that it will help you organize your upcoming overseas vacations. For the most recent and helpful travel advice, make sure you like this video and also hit the subscribe button as well.